Oh, here it is. This is from Martha Graham.
Hmm.
So it says, there is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there's only one of you in all of time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and it will be lost. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, to keep the channel open.
Mm. Hi, guys. That is Dr. Judith Thompson. She's a doctor of naturopathy. And let me just tell you, she is an amazing human being. I'm so lucky to have her with me today to help us keep our channels open, right? Get them open and keep them open through various techniques. Today, we get to learn about some herbology, other relaxation techniques through breathing, and something called forest bathing. What's that about? Find out. Listen to this entire podcast because you will be a changed person after it. And I'm excited for you. Thank you so much for joining me.
I mean, my whole perspective is how do we help people through stress and anxiety and worry, especially after COVID, where it feels like a lot of people, like all of the mental health issues, really kind of ramped up. And how do we work with it holistically, right? So there's lots of people, and that's my background as a naturopathic doctor, right? Because we've got people who are just focusing on the physical body, and absolutely 100%, you've got to focus on physical well-being, and that always goes back to good diet and exercise, right? Like that's got to be on board. But then, what are the kind of mental, emotional things? What are the spiritual things that kind of bring all of this together so that we can be in a good place with where we are in lives, with things that are in our control, things that are out of our control, and how we can just make peace with things so that we can keep going, right?
Amen to that. Amen to that. And if you want to just flow, you can, but eventually I do want to ask you how you handle people who come to you. If you do get them, they might already be able to care for themselves a little bit, and that's why they're able to seek you out because they're already in your world. I don't know. But someone who is so tightly wound
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
in every way, how do you
mm-hmm.
crack them open so they can
Yeah.
even hear you?
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, we can start there if you want.
Sure.
Right. So I mentioned the pandemic and people's stress levels going up, and for some people, it did just it got to this place of such extreme tension and anxiousness and being worried about so much, right? And it would just kind of like one thing leads to the next, and it's like the spiral of thoughts that keep happening. But then they're so wound up physically, right? So it's like they can't relax physically, they can't relax mentally. And so we just have to pick a place to start, right? Let's just pick a place because we've got to start somewhere. And so we start with the physical body, right? And the physical body, obviously, it needs good food, it needs movement. And so the food portion is, it's so simple, right? Like get fresh vegetables, get lean proteins, get healthy fats in there, right? So the fats are really important for brain function, right? Because we really want to help keep the brain in good shape to keep dealing with whatever we're dealing with. Um, and movement becomes so important as well, right? Because especially if somebody's really physically wound up, then they want to, or we want to be able to help them relax. Like you've got to, once you consciously start relaxing, and you can to a certain degree. A lot of people are kind of walking around with their shoulders hunched and they don't even notice, right?
Yep.
And so just kind of starting to whenever they can, and it could be an all day reminder that we give ourselves, right? Like, oh yeah, relax the shoulders, or relax the shoulders. I was just talking with someone who was mentioning how dentists notice the rates of people grinding their teeth went up like
Hmm.
60% or something, right?
Yep.
And um, and so, people, this is another place people hold a lot of tension and they don't notice it, right? And so, this is one of those things where, again, we can do just some really nice light massage. And it's always the reminder of relax, relax, like let your tongue fall gently in your mouth, right? Just relax, relax, just relax the muscles around your eyes. We don't notice our face is scrunched up.
Yep.
And other people see us and so they're like, well, why is your face all scrunched up? Or,
Why's your
like,
face doing that?
relax, relax your face. And for us, it becomes so just normal that we don't even realize it, right? So,
Yeah.
so relax your forehead, relax the muscles around your eyes, and this is why then meditation comes in for us to kind of go through that practice ourselves, right? Just relax your forehead, relax your eyes, relax your jaw, relax the muscles around your lips, right? Relax your shoulders, and we could work through that whole kind of relaxation process on our own. Um, but one of the funny things, well, not so funny really, but what I've been finding with a lot of people with the physical tension is that it has gotten so tight that some people are getting cramps, right? So they're cramping up in their muscles, in their legs, in their arms, and lots of people that are having even like nerve related, like a Bell's palsy types of things from such high amounts of stress.
Mm.
And so for these people, it can actually be really nice to sit in a bath and doing things like Epsom salt baths, right? Again, something that's so simple, but we actually, for people who are under this much stress, you want to do like 4 cups of Epsom salt in a nice big bath. Um, and just helping people to get them to relax because they can't even sleep at night, right? So doing a bath like this just kind of helps just relax the physical body and keeps them from having leg cramps in the middle of the night. I talk to people who are like, oh, I can't sleep because I've got such bad leg cramps,
Hmm.
right? And this is because our bodies are doing everything they need to do to keep us in good shape. So we're using up all of the minerals that we have
Yep.
just to live, right? Just to
Just
keep
to live.
going. And so we've got to replenish those. And and myself, I went through a period of taking tons of supplements and, felt great. And then I got to this point of, they call it pill fatigue, where you just don't want to take any more pills. And so I hit that point. I was like, all right, well, there's got to be other ways to do stuff. I don't want to just be popping pills all the time, right?
Right.
Um, for my pills, they were all, vitamins, minerals, herbs, things like this. Um,
Yeah.
right? Like not the pharmaceutical kind. But so taking a bath is just a really nice way to then submerge your body in this just very nice, calming, relaxing water. And for people who want to get into it, they can put some really nice, calming essential oils. Right, like lavender is probably the most popular out there, but there's some other ones like sometimes it goes the common name is lemon balm,
Yep.
and some people might see it by the botanical name, which is Melissa. So you
Oh,
might see it as Melissa.
nice. I have it in my tea right now.
Oh, there you
I mean, I
go.
have the tea right now.
Right. So I love that's one of my favorite ones to take as a tea or as a liquid tincture because it's one that helps to actually relax the nervous system, but it doesn't make you drowsy. Right.
Yep.
So there's some people who they just feel like they need a little bit of stress relaxation. Like they don't want to sedate themselves. They don't want to be sleepy or groggy. They're not trying to get to sleep. It might just be they have a stressful job,
Yep.
and they still need to be mentally alert. So lemon balm is one of these really nice herbs that can relax the nervous system enough without getting the person to feel groggy.
Take the
Uh,
edge off.
Take the edge off, yeah, because there are some others like. Chamomile is another nice one, but for some people, it actually makes them sleepy. So then they're not
Which
functional.
one? Chamomile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one will make them not be able to just alert in the
Operate.
afternoon. Yeah, yeah. So we've got herbs, and then there's like different classes of herbs. So that's where I would think of, or different strengths, I should say. I would think of Melissa or lemon balm, kind of in your more gentle, right? More gentle kinds of herbs. But then, if you wanted to go the next step up, so chamomile, right? So that would be the next one, or passion flower. So passion flower is also a really nice one, but these are a little bit stronger, so they can help people fall asleep. And so, with people who are having problems sleeping, my question is always, well, are you physically uncomfortable? Or is your mind just going, going, going that you just can't stop thinking about stuff? And so, if it's their body that's really kind of wound up and tense, then this is where the magnesium works out really well. Um, and if it's for nighttime use, I usually like the magnesium glycinate.
It's the
Um,
best.
Right? Like that's the one I just feel like it can help relax people.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. If they go for other kinds like the magnesium citrate, that will relax the bowels really nicely. Some
Yep.
people don't need
Which can be fantastic if you
that.
are retaining.
If you need it, if you don't need it, it could just be too much,
Very
right?
stressful.
So that's where I like the magnesium glycinate at night for just kind of calming the body, the Epsom salt baths, right? That's another form of magnesium. Um, but so then we've got other herbs, or like food, right? So we've got things like turkey, right? Like turkey has tryptophan in it, which is a really nice, for some people it can help them fall asleep if they're too mentally active at night. So it gets them to this place where the mind just calms down and they're able to fall asleep. So we have to know, like, what is it the body or is it the mind that's so active?
Mhm.
So we work with those herbs or amino acids, things that will help us. Um, but then we move into like people who are really just they can't sleep. They're like their mind, they just can't turn off their brains, right? Like they're so
Racing.
just on, or maybe, for example, I've had people who worked night jobs that were, maybe if they worked, like, I don't know, at a bar or at a nightclub, or I worked with someone who was a journalist, and she would cover like sporting events that might go into late night hours, or if it was overseas or something. So she had to be awake at nighttime. And so she just couldn't really turn herself off. And so for people like this, we really have to start focusing on supporting the adrenal glands and
Mhm.
helping them to get back into a little bit more of a normal rhythm, right? And so for that kind of a person who's super stressed out, there are stronger herbs, right? So they could go with things like valerian. So
Yep.
valerian is one of these herbs that I love valerian, but if you don't really need it, it can make you feel really groggy the next day, right? If you're not like super stressed out at kind of the max where like your brain just won't shut off, it'll make you feel groggy the next day. So it can leave kind of a little bit of a residue in the morning until it clears out through the body.
Little
So, yeah,
herbal hangover. Yeah.
yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. So, and the other thing with valerian is that I always like to warn people about what things will taste like. So, for example, like Melissa or lemon balm has just this really nice kind of lemony taste, and lavender is really nice smelling. Chamomile has a little bit more of a flowery, also really nice mild flavor. Um, so, glycine for some people who want to sleep, that's sweet, right? You take that as a powder and it's sweet. And if you're going to use valerian, I always say get a capsule because it stinks like stinky gym socks.
Sign me up.
So if you're not prepared for it, it could be kind of shocking, you know. So you wouldn't necessarily want to have that like as a powder that now you have to drink, or like as a
Enough to stress
tip.
you out.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Like, that would not be fun.
Right. Right. I think I hear some previous stories you could tell us about there. This lady, Judith, told me to take this.
Yeah, right.
And
Fortunately, I did a lot of my own, like just trying things out and testing before I ever suggested them. So I've warned people.
nice.
So if they went for it, I said, okay, I gave you fair warning, so you can't come back and say I didn't tell you. So that's the yeah, that's the valerian. But so we start looking at what can we do, right? Like how else can we help support the body? Um, for some people, or like for children, for example, kids got really affected during those pandemic years where they were also under a lot of stress, right? So I actually found that milk works really nicely, like cow's milk, right? The proteins in cow's milk can be very calming to the nervous system. So, of course, if you're going to be going that route, then you want it to be grass fed, hormone free, like
Okay.
whole milk, right? This is what's going to be the best option there.
Is it the morphine-like substances, the morphine-like proteins?
You know what? I don't remember what the name of the proteins themselves are.
It's okay. It's okay.
They're just
Well,
peptides.
my mom would always say, nice warm glass of milk always did it for her.
My dad, same. Like that was just part of the nighttime routine. And so it works for kids also. Um, And so, I find, or I have found that there are different things that work for different people. So some people, they're really sensitive bodies, right? So like taking the herbs, they would react, or they can't take pharmaceutical drugs either because their body just doesn't respond to it well. And they've got to be really gentle with their diets. And so then we start working with other things that could be helpful to just kind of get their mind focused elsewhere, right? Um, so for some people, doing meditation is a really nice way to kind of work through it. But with meditation, people become more aware of all the thoughts that are going on. So, so this is one of those like gentle processes, right? And it's a it's a learning process, and it's a letting go process where we sit down, and we can there's so many different types of meditation, right? You can sit down and kind of just sit and just observe the thoughts that come, and just let them come and let them go and let them come and let them go, and they're going to come and keep coming for a while, and they'll keep going as long as we don't get attached to what we're thinking about. Then it can, just don't become emotionally attached to it. And as soon as you notice, oh, I ran away with that thought, just come back, right? Like come back to just observing. For some people, it's really helpful to observe their breath. And so, right, like just breathing in and out really gently. I did a meditation course years ago where they would have you focus on your breath. But what you would focus on is just like this little part of your nose where the breath is coming out. And if you could feel it on your upper lip. And so, like, I mean, those are really gentle, subtle movements. But if we can get our mind to just focus on this little area right here, right? It gives our mind something to do,
Yep,
right?
I like that.
Yeah. And some people are, if they're more spiritually oriented, or if they've got particular religions that they follow, they might like a mantra, like a little repetitive phrase that they may say. Some people will do like a rosary where there's a prayer that they will repeat. And so that just helps the brain to get into kind of a slower pace and help them just, again, the idea is to get the mind to focus so that you can relax. And for some people, it helps them fall asleep. Or if they're in a really kind of stressful time and they need to just kind of take themselves out of whatever situation they're in. It gives them something to do. And while the mind is busy, kind of going through this repetition, they can start to focus on relaxing their body and slowing down their breath and just realizing that whatever it is that we're facing, it's most likely not going to kill us, right? It's not a wild bear chasing us, right? Most times. And so it's us just getting back into our kind of neutral place where we were able to keep taking those steps forward. We've gotten, and our brain has gotten so used to reacting to danger. There's danger, there's danger, there's danger.
Fear,
And
fear, fear, danger, danger. Yeah.
right, and there isn't, right? Like our lives aren't being threatened. We're okay, but we have to remind ourselves, and we have to create new pathways in our brain to be able to stay centered and just keep living, right? Because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We don't know what the next moment is going to bring, and we have to be okay, right? Like if we want to have a good quality of life, we have to know that we are okay, that we are taken care of. And sometimes this is where having a spiritual path does help a lot of people, because then we realize that we are supported, and that this is just how the universe works. How if a lot of people, for example, will feel very supported spending time in nature, right?
Yeah.
So if you live close to the beach or the mountains, or if there's even a favorite tree, some people would actually put their spine along the tree, and they could be sitting or standing, and then just put your spine, and whatever it is that you're kind of going through, like whatever thoughts, whatever worries are in a person's mind, you can just see like the tree taking it and just taking it down through its roots into the earth and feeding it back into the earth.
I
Uh,
love that.
isn't that nice, right?
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
find myself a tree.
yeah. That's one of those things where, whatever kind of stuff we're focusing on or giving our attention to in that moment, if it's not helpful for us, we don't need to take it on. And so it's energy, it's something we've created, and we could always give it back to the earth, and the earth will use that. The earth is this incredible being that takes everything that we no longer need and
Mm.
mulches it and then turns it
Ooh,
into fertile ground, right?
girl, I
So
like that.
yeah, some people like that, or if you can submerge yourself, like in the ocean or in a lake, something like that, then again, we come out refreshed from that. We let, like, again, nature takes it all. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine. Can people be in the ocean or in a body of water in a lake or something and be in a bad mood?
I've never been,
It's really hard. It's really hard.
or at least not have some sort of change for the better. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So it helps to shift our perspective a little bit.
Mm. Mm.
So
Yes,
yeah,
it
so
does.
we can do those things. I mean, and if somebody has a gym at their home or in the complex where they live, or in their neighborhood where they could sit in a hot tub, right, or steam baths, like these are all things that help us release, or sometimes a sauna. So, and I'm bringing these things up because they're sweating, and they are ways in which our body is releasing toxins, and it will release not just toxins, but emotional toxins, things that we've held on to that we, again, don't need, that these things aren't serving us. And so we want to let them go. And there's lots of ways that we can let those go. Um, yeah.
I
Uh,
have an issue. Tell me if there's something you want to add. Keep adding. I
yeah,
don't
there
want
was,
to cut you off.
yeah, no, I
Go
mean,
for
this
it.
is part of, like, I was just thinking of, like, in the Native American tradition, how they would get into sweat lodges, and they would do that as part of the community. And it would be a time where people would have a lot of sweating going on, right? And so they're letting go of physical toxins, but they would do lots of prayers and songs and have it be a way for them to kind of process whatever it was that was happening. And we don't necessarily have that in Western society. So we have to create these kinds of rituals for ourselves. And that's where the sauna, whether it's a hot, steam sauna or a dry sauna, it doesn't matter, a hot tub, whatever it is, but it's something that we have to create for ourselves.
I like
And
that.
yeah, I mean, in Japan, for example, they do forest bathing. So they'll
Yeah.
go out into the forest, and this is actually something that doctors will write a prescription for, so that people can get time in the middle of the day, get some time off from work, and go walk in the woods.
And then they see a bear and then, no, I'm just kidding. That's beautiful. I love that. Didn't think.
I was thinking about, because you had mentioned or you showed me a little tuning fork earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about these like crystal bowls or tuning forks like this where you just hit it and it gives off a vibration, right? And so we don't notice, but when we are in high states of worry and anxiety and stress, we are vibrating in a way that is not helpful for us.
Mhm.
And so using something like a tuning fork, um, it actually, and there are different notes, and they correspond to different parts of the body, and there's a whole system to use it. But if we find the heart the tuning fork that's tuned to the note that corresponds to the heart, you could actually, you just bang it, get a little vibration going, and you could put that right over the center of your chest to help calm you. Or some people might put it on just between their big toe and their second toe to just kind of bring their energy down, help them relax, right? Because most of the time when we're nervous and anxious about stuff, there's just too much going on in our heads. It's too much kind of scattered energy.
Mhm.
And so that's another way to help us just bring our energy down, bring that focus down. Um, some people will use things like crystal bowls,
Mhm.
and we get the vibration. And again, this is another one where sometimes, I often like to work with something like that intuitively, and there are lots of stores that sell these, different size bowls, so people would have to find one. If they weren't sure, they'd have to find a store where they could go and listen, right? Just listen and work with some of these. And there's going to be, we are feeling beings, so we're going to feel something somewhere in our body, and it's going to feel good. And
So
it's,
you practice, see which one feels good to you.
yeah, feel which one feels good to you. And I like doing it that way because it takes the mind out of it. Because
Mm.
people can tell you, oh, this is good for this and this is good for that, and that may be true for other people but not necessarily for us.
That's very
So
empowering because it gives them power to choose. I
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've seen some of those in different malls, like they've got them sometimes set up. And so
Mhm.
um, it's a really nice one. And there was an oncologist who actually used to use that years ago. He wrote a book, I think it was called like Healing Sounds or Sounds of Healing. But his name was Mitchell Gaynor, and he wrote this lovely book about how he used them with his oncology patients alongside using radiation and chemotherapy. He would use the crystal bowls as well. And it
Wow.
helped to keep them calm and help them through kind of how they were feeling with the treatments, and in some cases help them come back into their heart center and help them even be able to make peace or make amends or with family or friends that were estranged. So it's just these things that go beyond the mind and go beyond our understanding in a way that can help us get centered in our bodies and continue to have these really um, supportive relationships with other people that are um, usually important people in our lives and help us find our own internal peace. So, there's so many ways that we can go about it. And I've been seeing a lot of more like therapists, for example, focusing on some, they're calling it somatic work.
Mhm.
So this is kind of focusing on the vagus nerve and focusing on our spinal cord, and bringing all of these sensations to a calm place and finding ways um, to basically nurture ourselves and calm ourselves down. And sometimes it could be something as simple as like giving ourselves a hug, right? And just breathing, right? Just breathing with that. Or placing our hands over our heart. I've
Mhm.
seen, doing different things like this, just one hand over your heart, one hand over your head, and just breathing. So, this is where I find that people sometimes in those moments, they don't know what to do. And we've gotten so used to kind of looking outside of ourselves to help us, like, what can I take?
The next quick fix. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we are our own best medicine.
Yes.
And there's so many things. I mean, I've even seen, oh, this was another great tip I saw where just tapping the ends of our fingers.
Hmm.
And if you're in I don't know, in a restaurant or something, you're out with friends and you don't want them to know, or you're at a business meeting or something and you're feeling kind of nervous, you put your hands underneath a table,
I've been
right?
doing it all along.
Right. And this is more like from the Chinese medicine system of basically stimulating our different meridians that end right at our fingertips. And so, just do that until you start to feel calm. Or you could go to the bathroom and just do this for a few minutes. Um, and these are tools where we are then learning to soothe ourselves. We're learning to put ourselves into a better state of mind and not denying that that feeling is there, not trying to push it away or
The
suppress
rug. Yeah.
it. Yeah, we're not doing that, because when we do that, it's going to show up at
Mhm.
some point in our lives again in a different situation later that day, later that week. It's something that we need to, like, emotions are there to be felt, and it's okay that we have these different emotions because that's part of being human.
Mhm.
Right. um, and so just giving them that space, and sometimes I've even found that breathing into it and allowing it to be there, and for some people it's even just expanding that feeling. And when you expand it, in some cases I've seen it, like, it's like it gets diluted into the energy around them and it completely goes away.
Nice. They realize it's not the big scary bear they thought it was. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
And so this is where I feel like, you listen to different people, right? People follow all kinds of people on social media, and everyone's kind of, they're like, well, this is it, or this is it, and this is it, and this is it. And the truth is that they all work, right? But you just have to find which one is the right one for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, and I've even, getting back to the nutritional side of things, um, I have found that people who have nutritional deficiencies
Mhm.
end up having a lot of anxiety, right? And so a quick blood test can let them know, well, maybe you're B12 deficient, maybe you're iron deficient, maybe it's B6, like, what what's happening for people nutritionally, and then they take those nutrients and they feel normal again, and no more heart palpitations, and people have no clue. So we have to kind of test and see, and we have so very many tools, but it's knowing what the source is for each of us. And that's why I like starting with the physical body, because if there are needs that the physical body has, if we're not meeting those needs, then you can try all these other things, but they're not going to work, because the physical nutritional need has to be met, and the body's going to give us signals like, I'm not okay, if it's missing that particular nutrient or nutrients. um,
Amen to that. Are there
right.
particular stimulants that you warn people about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this is always the interesting thing because people they're so stressed and anxious, and then they use up all their energy, then they're really tired, right? And so then they end up going for coffee or tea or Mountain Dew, right?
Yep.
Or Coke or Pepsi, any of these things, right? Like they are really high in caffeine. And gosh, I had a client years ago. She drank, it was, 3 to 4 pots of coffee per day. And she,
Pots?
pots, pots, 3 to 4 pots of coffee
I'd be
herself,
in the hospital.
right? And she couldn't figure out why she was so anxious and why she couldn't sleep.
Why can't I sleep?
It was extraordinary. But so she didn't realize that, that it was such a high amount of caffeine that she was taking in. And as soon as she cut all of that out, she went down to like maybe 1 or 2 cups. And, we started really supporting her body with the nutrients that she needed, building up her internal organs to be able to, give her internal strength. Then she was like, oh my gosh, she was able to sleep through the night, no more
Go figure.
anxiety. Yeah. But people are drinking this stuff all day long and they don't know that they're actually dehydrated, which is another thing that can make people get anxious and feel lightheaded. And, we have many things that we need to do to take care of the body. And I mentioned, for example, eating, right? Like you want to eat fresh vegetables and fruits and lean proteins. And some people are sensitive to different kinds of foods, right? For example, gluten, right? Some people get palpitations from gluten, or they
Oh,
get
sure.
palpitations. So here's an interesting thing I learned about pesticides, how pesticides work, is that they actually target the nervous system of the bugs. And this is how then they're able to kill the bugs, is because it overrides the nervous system of the bugs and it kills them. And so if we're eating foods that have pesticides on them, there's a really good chance
Little
that
by little.
over time, exactly. And so then people will feel heart palpitations and anxiety from whatever they eat. And so as soon as they clean up their diet, go through some type of a detox, get these things out of their bodies, then they start feeling better. And so again, it has to start with the physical body. Until we get the physical body in good shape, or just everything else might have some kind of benefit, but I don't know that it would be long lasting. And so that's why I really like having that more kind of holistic approach, because then you've got different ways. You've got something that can soothe you as you're also building up the body, nourishing it, nurturing it, and then you can have some, the mind and the body will work together to get us to feel at our best.
Amen to that. There are people that are a hard sell. They may not be the ones that are seeking you out because they already know what you do. How would you handle someone, and I probably asked this already in a different way, but handle somebody that's a hard sell and they just think we're tree huggers and it's just not going to work for them?
Oh, interesting. Okay. Um, well, there's still, it's physiology, right? So people, what we know in terms of how we take care of health. So what the mainstream is just what the public knows about is, well, you take a pill for this or that, right? But pills will not, you don't have a deficiency of, uh, a medication.
Mhm.
There's very likely you will take this medication and it will override your body's kind of natural physiological biochemical states, and it will force your body to do something. But if you're having anxiety because you have some kind of nutritional deficiency, that medication will never take care of that deficiency. And so then you'll have to be on that medication for life.
Yep.
So, so this is where if we look at the, I always think of Western medicine as, and doctors who work within that field, they are disease managers. So that if your body has gotten so far out of balance that you've actually developed a disease, then, and that's the best place to go, then they're going to be the best people to work with. But if you are noticing these things happening and you really want to work to get your body back up to normal, healthy, optimal states, right? If you're going to choose to make the decisions that are going to give you a good quality of life, if you're going to take the time to prepare healthy meals and get that exercise and get your blood and body moving, right? Then yes, let's work on fixing these nutritional deficiencies. Let's work on building up your organs, because if we've been under stress for a long time and we weren't really consuming the nutritional things that we needed, then we're going to be in a deficient state. And again, if you throw medication on top of it, there's the nutritional deficiency is going to stay there. It's going to be there. And likely the medication will increase, right? The dosage will increase, or maybe more meds, so more, different quantities of multiple medications to get a person to be able to sleep, to not feel anxious throughout the day, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's where, and at the end of the day, it's still up to the person, I mean,
Always up to the person. I believe in something that I call full disclosure. So
yeah,
even if I don't give somebody the medicine that they're on, I just always like them to know everything about it. So I'll go to the manufacturer website and I'll give them, please read. And almost always, all of their symptoms are listed on the manufacturer website, other symptoms that the medicine may have caused.
yeah.
And I'll never say go off of it. I just want you to be aware
Mhm.
and talk to your doctor about it, because there are some things we obviously don't want people going off of
Yeah, yeah,
by themselves.
yeah.
But there are some medications that are making my practice really difficult,
Mhm,
especially PPIs, proton pump inhibitors,
mhm,
not only for digestive issues, but major anxiety,
mhm,
I'm noticing.
mhm.
And some other, even depression meds can cause major anxiety. Not that I want people to go willy-nilly and just stop, but yeah. So not only do these some medications, most not regulate the body, they either suppress or stimulate and never get to the actual root cause in the first place, and then
Mhm.
cause an issue that another script will be written for,
Yeah.
and then another one, and
Yeah.
then another one. So it's yeah, that's probably my biggest thorn in my side, is that these medications aren't allowing the person to be themselves anymore. And
Mhm.
they don't, there's some crazy stuff out there. But I'm not anti-medication.
Right,
Just the wrong medication at the wrong time forever.
right, right. So that's where, I mean, that makes me think of a couple things. One is we've got to keep our liver in really good shape to process those medications.
Good
And so,
point.
yeah, right. Like we see more of the side effects coming up when people's livers are not in good shape. So we really have to keep the liver in good shape, especially if these are medications that people have taken for a long time. And the kidneys, right? The kidneys
Yes.
need to be supported because these are the two primary organs that are breaking down the medication and having to do more work if people are taking those medications. And if we're talking about kind of the mental emotional side of things, if they're taking things like um, antidepressants or excuse me, anti-anxiety meds, um, a lot of people will tell me that they feel numb. It's like they feel nothing.
Yep.
They don't feel happy or sad or anything. And I mean, this is my perspective of, if I wouldn't want to feel nothing, to try to not feel the depression or the anxiety, because then quality of life is really
Yeah.
affected. But we
Yeah.
have to, like you said, there's a balance there, and we have to nurture the body for it to be in good shape physically, if people are wanting to at least try to wean off or get to a lower amount where they can actually feel happiness and joy and
Yeah, feelings, I kind of think feelings are like your antennae that tell you, are you going down the wrong path or not? And let's recalibrate here. You
Mhm.
just gave us a lot of wonderful tidbits there. How can people find you?
So, the best place to find me actually these days is on Instagram. And that's where I put up lots of videos, lots of tips for people if they're, really struggling with anxiety, with stress, with worrying, different things that they can do to keep themselves in good shape, or if they want to have a consult, if they wanted to kind of figure out a good blend of herbs or whatnot. I've got some things also linked to my Instagram, and that's the best place to reach me. So it's Dr. Judith ND at, yeah, at on Instagram.
So you handle not just stress. So what type of person might want to seek your services?
Oh gosh, I mean, anyone really, but I've focused with women's health primarily, so with women and children. So I've worked with lots of moms, new moms, like in the postpartum period, or moms trying to get pregnant, or moms to be, right?
Yeah.
And children of all ages, like babies through 18 years old, and really helping these kids grow up and be at their best. I
Mm.
find that with stress and anxiety, all parts of the body are affected because then, like for kids, their digestive system, I mean, for all of us, right, our digestive system is also affected. Sleep is affected, then focus is affected, brain function, like everything is connected to our bodies when we're under more stress and anxiety. So people who just feel like, you know what, I don't feel well, I'm not able to get through my days, and really it's the moms out there that are doing so much, working, raising kids. There's so
Mhm.
much for moms these
And
days, so
caregivers.
caregivers.
Mm. I cannot thank you for what you do, girl.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Gosh, I'm so excited that we were able to have this time to connect and talk about what we're up to, and just keep helping people. Right at the end of the day, that's what we're. That I mean, I know that that's been my life path for decades now, and I'm so happy to be able to help as many people as I can. So yeah.